Hello and welcome to another episode of Tips from the Swamp by Absolute Control Irrigation Specialists Incorporated. Today I'm going to be demonstrating the two most commonly accepted correct ways to do an in-ground direct splice that will be watertight. The use of a standard wire nut, such as this yellow wire nut here, if you put your two wires together, use that wire nut to attach them, and then just wrap it in electrical tape and bury it, that's not really an acceptable way of splicing those wires. Eventually moisture will seep in through the electrical tape, you'll have condensation occurring, it will get in and it will erode the metal components in the wire nut and the wires, and that splice will go bad, and now you'll have to find it, locate it, dig it back up and redo it again. Only if you do it right the first time, you won't have to go back to it. What we're going to be working with today are the grease-filled caps. Grease in this is a dielectric grease which will not conduct electricity, and it also prevents any moisture from getting to your connection once it is put into that tube. The other form is using a special wire nut which is filled with the same type of dielectric grease. Once this is attached to your wires and tightened up, the dielectric grease will wrap around all of the connection and again protect it from moisture, so you won't have an issue with moisture getting into it and the splice going bad. The first I'm going to demonstrate is the grease tube. That is this device. What you need to do is get a wire nut of the proper size. They usually come together. You take and attach the two wires together as we are doing here. Use the wire nut to connect the wires, make sure it's tight. Pull back on it to make sure that it's connected properly. Now, you shove it all the way down into this tube so that it's completely into the grease. There's a slot on each side for you to put the wires in. Snap the cap shut, and now you have a watertight splice using a grease tube. These grease tubes are sometimes known as DBYs. The other form is the use of one of these wire nuts that has the dielectric grease built into it. To make that connection, you need to take your two wires and attach them so that they'll stay together. And now you use the grease-filled wire nut to screw that onto the wires, screw them down to where they make a nice tight connection, letting the wire nut lock in the two wires. Once that's done, you'll want to check and make sure that the wires are tight by pulling on them. And then the next thing I do is I attach a small zip tie around the wires just ahead of this splice connection and tighten that up so that now that's tight. And the reason that I use that zip tie is so that if anyone pulls on those wires, the stress will not go through into the wires and the cap. It's taken by the zip tie and the connection is not jerked apart. For this demonstration, I've been using one of the rebuilt Rainbird 950 series rotors. It is a new offering for Absolute Control Irrigation Specialists. If you'd like more information, please contact us at our website, absolute-control.com. Thank you. I hope this has been helpful.